All right, so today we're diving into this pretty interesting conversation
Yeah.
between Robert Kiyosaki and Chris Voss, who,
Okay.
you know,
Right.
former FBI hostage negotiator, author of Never Split the Difference, huge book.
And you know what? And I was thinking, what do
Yeah.
these two have in common? It was like, what are we even talking about?
Right.
But as I got into it,
Yeah.
it's all about communication
Yeah.
and how the same skills that get people to say yes
Uh-huh.
in these crazy, hostage situations
Yeah.
can also help you
Absolutely.
achieve, financial
Your
success.
financial success, yeah.
But even Kiyosaki himself, he admits that
Oh, yeah.
he's got a lot to learn here.
Big time.
He even describes his past communication style
I love this.
as a Marine and Xerox salesman rolled into one,
Yeah.
which I gotta say
You-
sounds a bit intense.
It does. It highlights how these principles apply whether you're negotiating a multi-million-dollar deal or just trying to get your point across at the dinner table.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the most surprising takeaways from this conversation
Okay.
is the power of no.
Oh. Oh,
Voss
so
actually encourages us to get comfortable with hearing no,
oh
and even
no.
to frame our questions in a way that invites it.
Okay, so I gotta be honest. Getting comfortable with no,
Sure.
I mean, that feels a little strange, right?
Totally.
Most of us are taught to push for yes, get
Yes.
to yes. So how does this embracing no actually work?
Well, Voss explains that saying no makes people feel safe and in control.
Okay.
Instead of feeling pressured to agree,
Got it.
they can express their reservations openly.
Okay.
It takes the pressure off
Right.
and leads to more honest dialogue.
Makes sense.
For example, instead of asking, "Do you agree with this plan?"
Right?
you could ask, "Is there anything about this plan that concerns you?"
Oh, that's interesting.
Right.
That's a really subtle shift, but
Yeah.
I can see how it would just change the whole tone of the conversation.
Completely.
Instead of pushing for agreement, you're inviting feedback and creating a space for open communication.
Exactly. And Voss even uses a personal anecdote about his son to illustrate this.
Oh, okay.
He realized he was more receptive to his son's requests after initially saying no.
Really?
It allowed his son to articulate his needs more clearly
Interesting.
and helped Voss understand his perspective better.
That's a great example of how this concept can be applied in everyday life,
Yeah.
even with kids.
Absolutely.
It sounds like a simple shift,
It is,
but it could make a big difference in how we communicate with everyone around us.
for sure.
So we've got the power of no. What else did Voss and Kiyosaki discuss?
Another surprising insight is the power of smiling.
Okay.
Voss emphasizes that smiling isn't just about being friendly.
Right.
It actually has a physiological impact on the brain.
You know what? It's funny because as you're saying this, I'm like,
Yeah.
this is really making me rethink how I approach conversations. It seems like something as simple as a smile can have a much deeper impact than I realized.
It really can.
So how does that work? What's he talking about?
He explains that there's a direct link between the muscles we use to smile and the neurons in our brain.
Okay.
When we smile, it actually triggers positive changes in our brain chemistry, which can lead to clearer thinking and even a better mood.
So it's not just about appearing friendly.
Right.
It's about actually improving your cognitive function and emotional state.
Exactly.
That's wild.
And he even mentions some research on Botox that supports this idea.
No way.
People who couldn't frown due to Botox injections reported feeling happier almost instantly.
Wow.
It's a fascinating example of how our physical expressions can have a direct impact on our mental state.
That is fascinating. I'm starting to see a pattern here.
Okay, what's that?
First, the power of no, now the power of a smile.
Uh-huh.
These are seemingly small things,
Right.
but they can have a profound impact on how we communicate. It makes me wonder what other unexpected tools Voss has up his sleeve.
Well, this next one might surprise you.
Okay.
Voss is a big advocate for the power of silence.
Silence. Really? In
Yeah.
a negotiation? I mean,
Yes.
come on.
He argues that strategically using pauses or silence
Okay.
can be incredibly powerful.
Interesting.
It can create a sense of anticipation,
Okay.
give the other person space to think,
Right.
and even prompt them to reveal more than they intended.
I can see that.
Kiyosaki actually shared a perfect example of this from his own experience.
Oh, yeah.
He was in a business deal where the other party was trying to back out of an agreement.
I actually remember that story.
Oh, you do?
He didn't, argue. He
Yeah.
just stayed silent.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it worked.
It's a powerful reminder that sometimes the most effective communication is no communication at all.
Wow.
Allowing that space for silence can shift the dynamic of a conversation and lead to unexpected breakthroughs.
That's pretty powerful.
It is.
And speaking of things we might say without realizing their impact,
Okay.
Voss also has something to say about a word we use all the time. Why?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about why?
He explained that using the word why
Okay.
can often come across as accusatory
Really?
and trigger defensiveness in people,
Huh.
even if you don't intend it that way.
Okay.
It makes them feel like they have to justify themselves,
Makes sense.
which can shut down communication.
So instead of trying to understand, you
Yeah.
put them on the spot.
Exactly.
So what's a better way?
Well, instead of asking, why did you do that?
Right.
Voss suggests using phrases like,
Okay.
what makes you say that?
Yeah.
Or,
Okay.
it seems like you have a reason for saying that.
Okay.
This subtle shift in language moves away from blame
Right.
and towards a more curious and understanding approach.
It's much more inviting, I think,
Much more inviting.
than making them feel like they're being, interrogated. So we've got the power of no, the magic of smiling,
Yeah.
the strategic use of silence,
Yeah.
and now reframing how we use why.
That's right.
It's incredible how these seemingly small tweaks to our communication can have such a big impact. There's so much to unpack here.
There is, and these are just the first few insights from this conversation.
Right.
There's a lot more to explore, including Voss's concept of the black swan negotiator.
Yeah, we touched on that a little bit.
Yeah.
We're going to have to dive into that a little bit more.
Absolutely.
And how we can apply these techniques to achieve better outcomes in all areas of our lives.
For sure.
You know what? I think we need a moment to digest all of this.
Yeah. Let's take a break.
These ideas are so powerful and thought-provoking. Let's take a moment to let it all sink in.
For sure.
It's interesting, I was just thinking about how often we go into conversations with a predetermined outcome in mind.
Right.
We want a yes.
Yep.
And anything else feels like a failure.
It's so true.
That's
a common trap we fall into.
Yeah, and Vossi's like, no, no, no.
Totally.
It's about going beyond that simple yes-no mentality and really focusing on understanding the other person's motivations.
Yeah, understanding their perspective.
And Kiyosaki seemed to really connect with that idea, especially when he talked about Voss's concept of allowing humanity to overflow to achieve positive outcomes.
Totally.
I mean, what did he mean by that?
It's about recognizing that everyone has their own needs, fears, and desires.
Right.
When you approach a conversation with empathy and a genuine desire to understand where the other person is coming from, it creates a more collaborative environment.
So it's not about manipulating them into saying yes.
It's not about tricks.
It's about finding a solution that works for everyone involved.
Exactly. And this ties back to Voss's idea of becoming a black swan negotiator.
Right. We talked about that a little bit earlier.
We did.
Remind me, what is a black swan negotiator?
It's someone who makes subtle but powerful changes in their communication style to achieve extraordinary results.
Okay.
It's about being adaptable.
Got it.
Empathetic.
Okay.
And always looking for those small shifts
Yeah.
that can make a big difference.
Right. Like embracing the no.
Exactly.
Using silence strategically and
Yeah.
reframing questions to avoid using why.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's about being a master communicator.
And it sounds like Kiyosaki is really embracing this approach.
Oh, yeah.
He's working on being less aggressive.
Less of that marine energy.
Yeah. And more collaborative in his communications.
Exactly.
Especially with his wife, Kim.
Right, right.
And she even mentions that she's noticed a difference in his demeanor.
She has.
He's smiling more,
Uh-huh.
yelling less,
Less of that, too.
and approaching conversations with a more open mind.
That's great.
It's amazing how these small changes
I know, right?
can have such a ripple effect.
They do.
Not just in business deals.
Right.
Yeah.
But in our personal relationships as well.
Absolutely. It really highlights how universal these communication principles are.
They really are. And while all of these insights are incredibly valuable,
Yeah.
if you had to pick one to start with,
Okay.
what would you choose?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Let me think about it for a second.
Yeah.
I think I would go with getting comfortable with the word no.
Interesting.
It's such a simple shift.
Yeah,
But it has the power to completely change the dynamic of a conversation.
for sure.
It's about reframing no, not as a rejection,
Right.
but as an invitation to a deeper understanding.
Yeah, I like that.
It allows for more honesty vulnerability, and ultimately a stronger connection.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
This whole conversation has been a masterclass in communication.
It really has.
I feel like I've learned so much already.
Me too.
So for our listeners out there who are really intrigued by this,
where can they learn more about Voss's work?
Well, Voss actually has a wealth of resources available through his company, Black Swan Group, Ltd.
Oh, okay.
They offer coaching,
training
programs, and even a newsletter. With actionable tips that you can apply immediately.
Like right away.
Yeah, like every Tuesday morning.
And, of course, there's his book.
Yes.
Never Split the Difference.
Can't forget that one.
Which Kiyosaki even mentions that he's...
Yeah, he wants to read it.
Gonna read it, yeah. So to check out Black Swan Group and learn more about his work, where should they go?
The best place to start is their website. blackswanltd.com.
Perfect. We'll make sure to include that link in the show notes.
Awesome.
And I know you're a big fan of the newsletter.
I am.
Tell us about that.
He sends out a short, actionable tip every Tuesday morning.
Oh, wow.
That you can put into practice right away.
So it's like a weekly dose of communication wisdom.
It is.
Delivered straight to your inbox.
I love it.
That's awesome.
It's a great way to stay on top of your communication game. And continue to hone your Black Swan negotiation skills.
I love it.
Yeah.
You know, this whole deep dive has really emphasized that effective communication isn't just about closing deals or winning arguments.
Right.
It's about
so much bigger than that.
Building stronger relationships.
Yeah.
Fostering understanding.
Absolutely.
And creating more positive outcomes in every aspect of our lives.
It's about connecting with people on a deeper level.
I love that.
Yeah.
It really is.
And the most exciting part is that anyone can learn and apply these principles.
That's so true.
It's not about some innate talent or charisma.
Right.
It's about making small but consistent changes in how we approach conversations.
So as we wrap up this conversation, I want to shift our focus to the listener.
Okay.
How can they take these insights from Voss and Kiyosaki and apply them to their own lives?
Great question.
What's the one thing they should be asking themselves right now?
I think the most powerful question they can ask themselves is, what situation in my life could benefit from a more Black Swan approach to communication?
Wow, that's a great question.
It is, isn't it?
It's an invitation to look at our own communication patterns and identify areas where we can make positive changes.
Exactly. And it could be anything.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a conversation with a coworker who always seems resistant to your ideas. Or a recurring argument with your partner that never seems to get resolved.
Right. Or even a simple request you want to make of a friend or family member.
Exactly.
Any interaction can benefit from these techniques.
Absolutely.
So I think it's time we give our listeners a moment to reflect on that question.
Yeah, let's do that.
And think about what situations in their own lives could be transformed by applying these principles.
That's a great idea.
We've uncovered some really insightful communication techniques from Chris Voss and Robert Kiyosaki, but how can we apply these techniques to our own lives?
Well, we're all negotiating every single day.
Right.
Maybe not for hostages or million-dollar deals.
Yeah.
But we negotiate for things that matter to us.
What do you mean?
Things like time with our families or buy-in on projects at work.
Oh, I see.
Even just like deciding where to go to dinner.
Yeah, I guess you're right. It's like these constant little negotiations.
Exactly, and that's why these techniques are so powerful.
Okay.
They provide a new framework for those everyday interactions.
So it's like a way to be more strategic and get better outcomes.
Exactly, and it's all without being pushy or manipulative.
Right.
It's about being a better communicator.
It's like leveling up your communication skills in all areas of your life.
That's it.
So remember Voss's challenge?
Yeah, what was that?
What situation in your life could benefit from this Black Swan approach?
Right, because it's not just about the big, confrontations.
Yeah.
It's also about those little moments where we might be accidentally triggering defensiveness.
Right.
Or missing out on opportunities to really connect.
Like, for example, that coworker who always seems to shoot down your ideas.
That's a great example.
Or maybe it's that argument that you and your partner have that never seems to get resolved.
These are perfect examples.
Yeah, I mean, by using what we've learned.
Yeah, like embracing the no.
Right.
Using silence strategically, swapping out why for more open-ended questions.
Yeah.
You can shift those interactions from battles into collaboration.
I like that. It's about shifting our perspective.
Exactly.
Instead of viewing communication as a win-lose situation.
Right.
Or, a zero-sum game. we can start to see it as an opportunity to actually understand each other.
Yeah, and build stronger relationships.
Exactly.
And it's empowering.
In what way?
Because it means that even challenging conversations can become chances to connect.
Yeah.
If we approach them with the right mindset and tools.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive,
okay,
I want to leave our listeners with this challenge.
What's that?
Take some time to reflect on your own communication style.
Okay.
Where could you benefit from a more black swan approach?
That's a good one.
What situation in your life could be transformed by putting these techniques into practice?
That's the question.
And don't forget Voss's book.
Oh, yeah, Never Split the Difference.
An amazing resource to help you dive deeper.
Absolutely.
His website, blackswanltd.com.
And the weekly newsletter.
Yes, all fantastic resources.
All great stuff.
It's time to level up your communication game, folks.
Let's do it.
Until next time, happy negotiating.